And this year when we're probably not going to have, 50 people around a table, it's really fun to remember how it feels.
In a stunning live television moment, Bill Gaither brought viewers to tears as he emotionally announced his resignation. With his voice trembling and emotions laid bare, Gaither revealed the deeply personal reasons behind his decision to step down, a revelation that left fans and colleagues reeling. The segment teased further insight into the inner turmoil that had led to this turning point in Gaither's life, promising an unfiltered look at the struggles he had long kept hidden. For decades, Bill Gaither had stood as a pillar of strength and inspiration in Christian music. His name was synonymous with faith, hope, and spiritual encouragement. Yet, in recent months, quiet whispers began to circulate about the private battles he faced, questions surrounding his faith, well-being, and even his relationships. While Gaither had long embodied unwavering belief through song and sermon, insiders began to hint at a quieter, more conflicted side. Some close to him revealed that Gaither had been struggling with deep spiritual doubts, wondering whether his calling still aligned with the path he had been walking for so long. These uncertainties weren't limited to faith alone. Rumors also touched on personal tensions within Gaither's family and professional circle. The demands of touring, performing, and overseeing a vast musical empire had reportedly begun to strain his relationships, particularly at home. Though the Gaither family presented a united front in public, some suggested that behind closed doors, the pressure was mounting. Years of relentless commitment to ministry had taken a toll, both physically and emotionally. While many initially dismissed these claims as idle gossip, mounting signs began to support them. Gaither, once vibrant and ever-present, had grown quieter in recent appearances. Sources close to him described a man wrestling with exhaustion, longing for peace away from the constant spotlight. His decision to temporarily step away from the Gaither vocal band, officially framed as a break to focus on ministry, seemed to confirm that deeper issues were at play. To those who knew him best, it was clear this wasn't simply a hiatus, it was a moment of reckoning. Behind the scenes, concerns about Gaither's health had grown. Years of extensive travel, high-stakes performances, and the unyielding expectations of fame had begun to wear him down. Colleagues noticed changes, withdrawal during rehearsals, a loss of his usual infectious energy, and signs of mental and emotional fatigue. Those close to him feared that the man who had once energized rooms with joy and devotion was now quietly battling burnout. Throughout it all, Gaither's wife Gloria remained a steady source of love and support. For decades, they had built a musical and spiritual legacy together. But even Gloria, ever faithful and devoted, could see the toll his career was taking. According to those within their circle, she had encouraged Bill to slow down, to rest, and to reconnect with his health, his family, and his faith. Their shared decision to step back wasn't made lightly, but it was made with love and clarity. Publicly, the news sent shockwaves through the Christian music community. Gaither's fans, many of whom had followed him for years, reacted with a mixture of sorrow, confusion, and heartfelt support. Social media lit up with tributes and prayers, as people tried to process the sudden absence of a man who had meant so much to them. News outlets scrambled for explanations, and while some offered respectful coverage, others speculated wildly about Gaither's future. Among his closest collaborators, however, the mood was somber but supportive. Members of the Gaither vocal band and longtime friends expressed admiration for Gaither's courage in prioritizing his well-being. They spoke of the weight he had carried, the faith he had shared, and the legacy he had created. And though they acknowledged the loss his absence would leave, they stood behind his decision without hesitation. As weeks turned to months, Gaither's withdrawal from public life became more noticeable. Performances were quietly cancelled or postponed. Interviews stopped. And still, his team remained steadfast in protecting his privacy. Meanwhile, fans continued to send messages of love, gratitude, and hope, many expressing a desire to see Gaither return when he was ready, others simply thanking him for the decades of spiritual uplift he had provided. Gaither's decision to step back marked not just a career shift but a personal transformation. It was a recognition that even those who give the most to others need time to heal themselves. The relentless pace of his life, while driven by passion and purpose, had caught up with him. Now, with the support of his family and the quiet comfort of time away from the stage, Gaither could begin to rediscover what mattered most. The man who once defined gospel music for a generation had earned the right to rest. Whether he returns to the spotlight or continues his journey in private, his legacy remains secure. He has left an indelible mark on the world through his music, his faith, and the authenticity with which he faced this pivotal moment. What lies ahead for Bill Gaither remains to be seen. But for now, he has chosen peace over pressure, reflection over performance, a brave and necessary act in a world that too often demands everything from those who inspire us most. As the media continued to speculate about the reasons behind Bill Gaither's departure, his fans responded not with confusion or criticism, but with a wave of compassion and unwavering support. Many took to social media to express their heartfelt gratitude for the music and memories Gaither had gifted them over the decades. Some hoped that this break would give him the time and space he needed to rest, reflect, and eventually return, stronger and more at peace. Others simply offered thanks, standing by him regardless of what the future held. The overwhelming outpouring of love made it clear Gaither's legacy extended far beyond the stage. It lived in the lives he had touched, the souls he had inspired, and the deep emotional connection he had fostered through his music and ministry. Gaither's decision to step away marked not just a pause in his career, but a deeply personal crossroads. This was not a moment of surrender or defeat. It was an act of courage and clarity, a recognition that in order to continue pouring into others, he first needed to care for himself. He chose to prioritize his health, his faith, and his family. Those closest to him, his wife Gloria, his colleagues, and his longtime collaborators, understood and supported this choice. They knew that this step back was not an end, but a necessary chapter in a long and meaningful journey. And while the world waited with bated breath to see what might come next, one truth was undeniable: Bill Gaither's legacy would endure, whether from the stage or behind the scenes. For decades, Bill Gaither had been a cornerstone of Christian music. From his early days as a songwriter to his leadership of the Gaither Vocal Band, his influence shaped the very landscape of gospel music. Beloved by fans and respected by peers, Gaither was not only celebrated for his musical genius but also for his ability to bring together artists of all backgrounds and voices. Yet, behind the curtain of acclaim and harmony, there were unseen struggles, conflicts and burdens that few outside his inner circle ever saw. The pressures of success were relentless. The demands of constant touring, recording, and managing an expansive music enterprise weighed heavily, not just on Gaither, but on those who worked alongside him. Over time, the immense responsibility of steering a musical dynasty began to strain relationships, particularly with members of his own vocal band. Though Gaither was admired for his perfectionism and commitment to excellence, those same traits sometimes created tension. His vision, while clear and compelling, left little room for dissent or creative independence. Maintaining harmony within the Gaither Vocal Band proved one of the most persistent challenges. With a group composed of strong-willed, gifted performers, clashes were perhaps inevitable. Gaither, who often made final decisions regarding set lists, song arrangements, and performance styles, was viewed by some as overly controlling. While many admired his leadership, others felt stifled, believing their voices and artistic contributions were being overlooked. This dynamic, over time, bred frustration among certain members, especially those who yearned for a more collaborative and egalitarian creative environment. One of the most telling moments came when a beloved member of the Gaither Vocal Band abruptly left the group after several years. While the departure was publicly described as a natural transition, insiders suggested otherwise. Whispers of creative tensions and mounting pressure under Gaither's high expectations suggested a deeper rupture. Though never confirmed, those close to the situation implied that the friction between Gaither and the departing member had reached an unsustainable level. Bill Gaither, ever the perfectionist, had built his career on a foundation of excellence. But that same drive, while essential to his success, sometimes exacted a steep cost. As the group toured endlessly, many band members began to feel burned out. While Gaither remained committed to the mission, others struggled under the weight of constant expectations, rehearsals, and rigorous travel. For some, what had once felt like a family began to feel more like a machine, one driven by a singular, unyielding vision. Still, it's important to recognize that Gaither's strong presence came from a place of deep love for the music and the message. His devotion was never in doubt. But as time passed, it became clear that even the strongest among us can grow weary. And Gaither, after a lifetime of pouring into others, finally chose to step back, not in shame, but in wisdom. His story now moves into a quieter chapter, where healing, rest, and reflection take precedence over performance.